Cool. Hey, everybody. My name is Jamal with Creator, and we're here with the awesome,
Alex Stead.
it's an amazing travel and adventure photographer based in London. Super excited to have him on. Can't wait to get into it. Before we do, Alex, if you could just give everybody a little bit of a background about yourself, maybe in a few minutes. You were telling me the awesome story, so I think it'd be great to talk about your trajectory, and then we'll get into audience questions.
Yeah, of course. So I am a London-based photographer. I've done photography since I'm now 21, so I'm still very young, I guess, in the photography industry. So I started photography when I was about 13, 14 years old, and I kind of did that through school. So I was lucky enough to be able to study it for GCSE, which is the UK, and then you go on to A level. I don't know if anyone's in the UK here, but it's kind of the equivalent of exams. So we did that through school, did pretty well, but it's really basic at school. There's not like, you're not like learning all the different what your camera does. You're more kind of pinhole photography, film photography, very kind of old school kind of stuff. But you still kind of learn lots of basics about photography, which kind of helps me today. And then I actually decided to get a place at university, like a lot of people do. So university, I went for a year, and I just didn't feel it. I did a university, and it's quite a usual thing to go to the university in the UK and get a degree and then move on to a job. But I was at university and I just wasn't feeling it. So I took a big risk. I said, I'm just going to leave university. I'm not going to come back, and I'm going to try hack this photography thing. Because when I was at university, I was always trying to work. I always was contacting brands. I was actually going away sometimes. I would like sneak off. Actually, me and my friends set up a little project where we went to Dubai with a couple of brands, and we like went on the Thursday night after my lecture and like came back on the Monday morning on the red eye. So I was like trying to always work. I was never like keen and just sitting back and doing the university life. So, and then I've been kind of working after that for the last year and a half and never looked back.
Cool. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So you kind of hear a lot of those stories about people have different mindsets, whether it's starting young like you did, or where we will hear people starting after they're 30 and they're like, I'm quitting my job just to jump in this. So it's kind of good to hear stories where you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to try this and do it and just kind of see what happens, which is great. Let's start jumping into some questions. So I think this is actually a pretty good one. We'll just go from the top and work our way down, but it's, what's one quality that you possess as a photographer that you think sets you apart?
I think there's something in my work where I think it's integrating like perfect light or atmosphere. So in a lot of my shots, I get up really early or I'm shooting at sunset. You'll notice I don't shoot a lot in the day unless it's like a winter whiteout. And it's kind of those special moments where people are usually running to their cars. Like there's some shots from Iceland where the snow is coming down and we're in a Defender, and who's out in that? And we're out in that, taking photos, and there's your whole camera is covered in snow, but it's taking a bit of a risk. So I guess it kind of separates my work from others is like, it's the light I use and how I use natural light and how I process that. It's quite natural. I think everything I go by is quite natural. So the way I process it, the way I shoot it, and the way I use the light. So yeah, I guess that what you can kind of see that in my shots, I hope.
Yeah, we'll definitely be sure to bring that up. And I guess following that up, what characteristics must a travel photographer possess in your assessment so far?
I think, I don't know, like I've been doing it not a long time, but I've been on a heck of a lot of planes. I've lived in airports and lived in hotels. And I think it takes a certain type of person who wants to be kind of away constantly and has that kind of strong mental kind of mind that this is like, even if they've got 3 hours of sleep. Like I did a shoot in Australia for a certain brand. You're flying to Australia in the back of the plane for 24 hours, and then you land, and then you got to be on it. You got to be like, we've got to do this, we've got to do this. Not like you've got to get right into work. So I think it takes quite a strong person. I think it's mostly the tiredness and the amount of work you got to do. Like a lot of people don't see the late nights and, working in the plane and the Uber on the way home, like to make sure you got everything nailed for your client. Because it is travel photography, but it's also, you got to make sure you get the shots because it's only one time you got to be in that place in that light. So you got to make sure you get it right.
That actually follows up lovely with the next question, which is when you're out photographing, shooting these amazing scenes, like you mentioned in Australia, how do you actually enjoy it if you're, like you said, tired and you're constantly having to shoot and get the shot because your client is depending on you? That's actually a very good question.
Drink a ton of coffee. No, it's hard to enjoy it sometimes, and like that's the thing. It's people think it's always so enjoyable, and like my friends are like, "Oh, I'm so jealous you've been here." I was like, oh, "I'm so tired, and like I've got to be photographing everything and run around the place before the sun sets, and then got to be up in 5 hours." So it is really hard to enjoy it. But I think the most enjoyable thing is like sitting down. I know it sounds a bit sad, but you're editing through your photos on the way back from the location. You're like, I nailed it. Like I did it. I did it right. I think that's the most satisfying thing. And I think it's hard. I don't just sit there and enjoy the sunset. I couldn't do that. Even if I wasn't being paid, I'll be running around.
Cool. Another question popped up. Speaking of locations, what are the top 3 places that you've shot at so far and why?
Top 3. One of my favorite has to be Oregon. You see a lot of Oregon work on my website and Instagram.
Oregon.
It's like, yeah, I know. It's like, I just really enjoy it. It's really chilled. I got a friend out there. I go like visit him. I first met him when I was filming a series. He was really nice. And then we just shoot out there, and I fly out there sometimes. And I've got my most incredible work. Like I've spent a week out there, and a week's not a long time, but we shoot so much, and we get around like, it has the most amazing lakes, waterfalls, and it's also close. Like I love it. Like a lot of places are so spread out. Like I was in New Zealand recently, and everything is so spread out. But in Oregon, you can drive between an hour and half an hour from Bend, which is in center, and you got the most beautiful lakes and waterfalls and caves and stuff. So that's one of them. What else? Love New Zealand. Spent a month there. That was really cool. What else? I love Fair Islands. I've been there once for the tourism board, and that was really fun. It's just above Scotland, so it's between Iceland and Scotland, and it's a nutty place. It's beautiful, very remote, and I love it because there's no tourists. Because you go to Iceland and there's 50 coaches lining up to see whatever it's Skelgofoss or whatever it is, and then you go to Fair Islands and there's one person, there's one boat a day, and I got stuck on an island for a day because it's only. But yeah, those are definitely got to be on the top.
Okay, cool, nice. Let's keep it going. This is awesome. I'm jamming through these. Let's see. What is your source of inspiration in photography, or who or what is one of your sources or sources for inspiration?
Definitely other creators. Like I think there's so many creators online and other photographers. Everyone's trying to push each other, like do better work. So I guess everyone else who's on like social or any other photographer is always kind of an inspiration, because there's always someone in anything you do. There's always someone doing better than you. You can't be the best. There's always someone. So you always kind of look into other people and where they're going and what they're doing and how they're pushing their photography. And it's not about copying. It's not about going to that location and being like, right, I've got the same shot as that dude. It's about kind of taking what they're doing in technique and kind of using it as your tool in your work and kind of pushing that. I guess it's like, so I see it. I've been on social media and people just keep getting better and better and better, and you want to get better and better and better. So
yeah, let's keep jumping into this. Is photo from, here we go. We have RJ, and he says, it just jumped on me because somebody upvoted it. What is the craziest thing you've ever done for a photograph? And I'm sure that's probably pretty crazy.
Just trying to look through my gallery now. There's a couple of dodgy rooftops I've been on. A couple of dodgy helicopters.
Oh.
Not dodgy. I just
Which section? I could probably just bring those up actually.
I think there's one in the traveling, and there's a couple of shots of Las Vegas.
Okay, cool. Let me just bring those up, and then we'll jump back into it. All right, cool. So which section?
Oh, that one's a pretty crazy. The waterfall one. Actually, let's talk about that one. That's the top right. Yeah. Oh, no, the one with me standing on a log. Yeah, that one. That one was
this looks
one of
like
them.
straight death is about to happen.
This wasn't a great one. Basically, I set my tripod up and remote timer and everything, and I was with my friend. I'd set up the whole shot, and like I was wearing like a lot of my shots you'll see post recent work. Like it's very careful what people are wearing and what they're doing and stuff. Like so, I had a cool rucksack and something which is visible. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll go on that log, and then like I basically army crawled on that log, like hugged it. And it was like shaking.
So you just inched your way
like,
forward on it and then stood up?
Inched my way forward and then stood up and then like, it was horrible.
It's funny now that you're telling me that, and I'm actually kind of reading your body language. I can kind of feel that a little bit, like this, like tenseness.
Yeah, because it was really, really slippery, which I didn't realize, and it was like. And it was raining, and it was just like the water. I don't think I would have been all right if I fell in. You would just go downstream a bit because it like goes under and then it calms down. But like it was just everything was shaking. I had to I was so wet afterwards. I basically just crawled up this log and then stood up, and then like sat back down and army crawled back over it. So that's got to be one of them.
Let me go back to is this it? Right? No.
Yeah, just press
X. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Sorry.
Yeah.
Up or down.
And then some of the safer down, and then there's some safer ones. I mean, we did stuff in like Vegas and stuff, which we had a helicopter just cruising around. I mean, I'm not sure where it is. Oh, sorry, it might be in commercial. In commercial. Yeah.
We'll find it.
Where is it? I think it's just.
Oh yeah, that looks crazy.
Yeah, that was a really fun shoot. We'd stopped into Vegas, and it was just crazy. We were in this like, me and my friend were in this like 8-seat chopper. Like they have a really good company out there. I can't remember their name, but they hooked us up, and they were just like, "Do you want to fly over Vegas for like an hour?" And we're like, yeah, we want to fly over Vegas. So like,
yes, please fly me over Vegas.
So they gave us like a pilot and like an 8-seat helicopter. These like really nice helicopters. Like I've been in a lot of small 2-seat helicopters, and these were great. So we had a side each, and like we could talk to the pilot, and we just be like, right, let's go.
Yeah, with the headphones. Yep.
Yeah, which is amazing because I've been on some ones. Some people just flown me, and like your wind doors closed, and like the reflections are horrible, and there's some guy next to you, and you're like trying to get your shot, which is awful. But like when companies or like tourism boards do it well, this was it. But like we were just leaning in and out of this chopper, and all you have is this harness.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Vegas, yeah, which was so. Yeah, those are some of my craziest ones. But I think the log one, which is always stays in my mind.
Yeah, no, that looks like I think that was a shot we used for like promoting this because like that's just it just looks
because it's lunatic.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then one other thing that I'll go back to just some of those shots, which is I asked you the question before as far as who shoots you when you're doing that stuff, and you mentioned it's you. So it's kind of like you're doing this travel self-portraiture. Yeah,
sometimes. I mean, like some of them are quite hard to do because you're like in the middle, as I said, like you're in the middle of nowhere by yourself and you've got no one around. And I hate just kind of shooting plain landscape. Sometimes it looks quite boring. So I always love to integrate people, and people don't quite know me. It's quite fun to integrate yourself and these kind of things. And yeah, that's kind of my set up on tripod, run up to it.
And you just like put the timer on.
Yeah, and it works pretty well. I love some of these are my favorite shots. That's one of my favorite shots. That's out in Oregon.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can find some more here. Yeah, this one as well, right? So you just kind of set it up and then just
that's not me.
Oh, okay.
That's not me. That's a different person. I gave him my rucksack.
Okay, so it looked like you. I saw the same back.
Yeah. That one was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just kind of go through a couple of these,
actually. That's Oregon.
Yeah, I'm just kind of scroll through, and then if you see anything story pops out here or there, we'll just stop on it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the photos about how earlier in the evening, right, where you like to shoot.
Yeah. Mostly golden hour, like the hour before sunset and sunset, and then a bit after, and then sunrise is always good. That's sunset, that's sunset. So some of these are during the day and like a bit more moody. Like that's during the day. That's during the day. So like, I do shoot during the day still, but I just prefer kind of the softer light.
Yeah,
that was a funny one actually. Go back. So we were in Australia doing this campaign, and it was a long story, but basically we had a car with a tent roof, and we wanted to kind of create, like, if you go to this place, there's like a car park and there's a ton of people, and like everyone just takes the same kind of shot of Uluru, which is, I think it's the name of the rock. And everyone just takes the same shot, and we're just like, we have a tent on the roof. Do you think we could pop this in the car park and look cool? So we got the whole roof tent out. This is a huge roof tent. And like, there was probably like 4 or 5 coaches behind us, like 50 cars on each side. And like, we were just chilling in our tent, just looking out, looking like the jungle. So it's quite a weird one.
Yeah, no, this definitely is interesting. It's kind of like, usually like you're lounging, like you're sitting on your bed, but really you're in the middle of nowhere kind of. It's a cool
yeah, that's what I kind of feel we wanted to go for.
Yeah, no, it came together very well, just in terms of like thinking a little bit different outside the box. I can see, what you're talking about as far as how you play it. All right, I'm gonna try to jump to some more questions because I know the audience is continually asking them. So let's see what else we have here. How much time do you spend editing some of your photos? Like, we'll go back to one of the other ones that has more like sky and stuff like that. But how long do you spend, editing something like this or something a little bit?
Sky photography takes a lot more.
Like this one.
I think there's like that was a crazy night. We had some crazy northern lights, but it depends. With especially night photography, it's quite hard to get the balance between ridiculous and real, because like that's how I remember it. Like, I love to edit stuff how I remember it, and that for me is kind of like, I've never seen the northern lights so good in Norway. So I think something like that. I don't know, like,
I try to scroll through some other ones.
Yeah, I mean, like, during the day stuff, probably something like that, half an hour. I'm not like editing the sky, and I'm not adding a dog or people people go a bit crazy. I like to keep my shots quite basic in the editing, not like basic in the way, but like in the basic of photoshopping a drag. When people go a bit nuts on
you can see it with the HDR and like all this. They kind of
just to impress people. And I'm hoping that I've done most of the work before I go into editing. So how I shot it is mostly the way I want it to look. So the composition's right, the exposure's mostly right. So yeah, it depends. Really, editing's a tough one to say, because I never really time myself. I just kind of fade out and edit for a couple hours, and you don't really realize where it goes. But yeah, mostly I try shoot stuff beforehand, and then post-processing is like quite.
Here's the lights that you mentioned before. Yeah. So you didn't do too much work on this, or did you kind of have to tweak this a lot?
I tweaked the colors a little bit to make it pop a little more. Some of the blues in the northern lights, or just the sky looks all green, because it was like a solar storm, so it was crazy the amount of lights. Like, it was. I got my iPhone out and took a shot, and like, it's not great, but you can never see northern lights on your iPhone. So it was absolutely huge solar storm, and that was the result. Hang on, I think I've lost audio. Hello?
Cool. Yeah, that was awesome just to actually see the work, which is great. So let's see. We're going to switch gears, and we'll talk about, you actually mentioned it, Instagram, and trying to press for it. So you have somehow convinced over 1 million people to follow you on Instagram. How the hell did you do that? Somebody's question is, any tips for a young artist trying to build their following?
Build following, I think it's more about creating your style than building your following. I mean, there's more steps you take in building your following, is like, obviously, hashtagging, posting at the right times, engaging with people. It's not just engaging people like, oh, hey, follow me, I post a photo of my cat today. Like, it's engaging with other photographers in the way that you enjoy their work, not just you just want them to follow you or something. I think it's really hard to build your following up. I think it's one of the challenges, a lot of challenges photographers face. But I think if you have this style which kind of stands out, I know a lot of people, I've seen people go from nothing to like 500,000 because their style is incredible. People find styles and one person says to the other, have you seen this? Have you seen this? And it gets shared. And I think it's mostly about creating your style. Like, I wouldn't worry. I know people always want to get huge amount of following, and it's hard for me to say that, but I think it's more important about your work you share. Like, I know some photographers who only have a couple thousand or a couple hundred, and I absolutely love their work, and they should be on millions, but they're not, but they still share the best work. They're not trying to fake something. So I think that's my advice. I think it's really concentrate on your work and your style and what you're posting, that rather than just trying to make people follow you for, I think you just got to concentrate on the work. That's my main advice. And there's things you can do is, like, as I said, hashtagging and integrating with people and meeting up with photographers. That's a lot. I don't get as much as time to now as meet up with photographers, but I used to meet up with a lot of photographers, not just trying to suck up to them, just like hanging out and shooting. And it's getting
kind of
off
like
your app
photo
and
walks
actually,
and things like that, or travel walks, I guess. I don't know what you.
Yeah, I did some photo walks, but I think more like meeting people who are like inspired by, or
and just talking with them and just chatting with them. Okay.
Yeah, or a general interest in photography. Like, it's cool meeting up with photographers. I did some photo walks in London. I did probably 5, and then I got quite busy, and then I haven't really done many since. But yeah, sorry, my phone rang.
Oh, cool. All right, let's see. We have a photo from Ethan Rice. He says, do you recommend using presets or creating your own presets to create a portfolio of similarly edited shots, similar to what Rob Stroke does?
Sorry, someone just keeps ringing me.
Just the travel
sorry,
board.
what did you say? Creating preset. With presets is a funny thing. Like, presets in the recent kind of, I guess, couple of months or year-ish, it's become a huge thing to sell presets. Like, everyone's doing it. I don't do it because, like, I don't know. I just find that your presets, your style. So selling your presets, sorry, I don't know why someone's trying to ring me so much. Presets kind of like, sorry, someone's literally rung me like 6 times. I'll just let it ring. So I think presets is a hard one because, like, I love some people's presets, but you're buying that person's style. So that person's always going to get hired before you because it's their style. So that's the problem I have with presets, is that you're basically just copying someone's style in editing. And if you want to create your own style and kind of grow your following, I think you need to kind of push on that a bit. I mean, I think it's a good way to start out if you don't understand editing and, what all the tools do, and kind of break down the tools of what the presets do and think, how can I do this in certain ways I want to do? But I don't think I know people who just get presets, copy and paste, photo edited. I just don't get it, because it's that person's style. You're just recreating.
Got you. Cool. Makes sense. And then somebody asked the same question as I did, because it makes sense. You named your Instagram Nikon Photography. Why did you do that?
So I created my account when I was 16, I think. So I created it when I was 16. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I remember I was just talking to my friend at school, and I was like, dude, he's like, you should share your work on this app. And Instagram was new at this time. Like 5 years ago, Instagram wasn't really much. So, and there wasn't really many people using it as a photography thing. It was kind of a weird, kind of quirky app. Not many people used it. So I found the name, and I was just like, I'll run with it. So I just kept with it ever since. I think my friend was just like, dude, you got to come up with like kind of different name to everyone else instead of like Alex Stead 47 or something. So go a bit different, and it worked out really. It worked out well. It kind of just blew up, which is nuts.
And then also somebody asked, we'll kind of switch gears again. And speaking of gear and switching gears, somebody asked the question, what's usually in your travel pack or kit?
In my travel bag, it depends what I'm shooting for. It really depends how big the shoot is, because sometimes I can have tons of equipment. I did New Zealand recently, and I was filming and doing my photography, and I needed all. So if I was packing to the max, which is New Zealand, is like on the road for a month filming a series, is like, so I film on D500s, which I really love. So two D500s, two D810s, and those are my bodies. So I always like whatever shoot I'm doing. If I'm not filming, I always film my D500s. But if I'm doing like a general shoot for a client, like I would always bring two D810s. Like I'm not going to break. I've never broken one, touch wood. But if you broke one and you're in the middle of nowhere, what are you going to do? So I always have two with me, which I'm lucky enough to have. And then lenses wise, it really depends what I'm shooting. Again, it's like you're not going to bring like a 400mm if you're shooting landscapes. So usually I bring a 14-24. I bring sometimes a 16-35 as well. 24-70. For some of my more compression shots, you see, like the portraits and those kind of things, I use 58mm 1.4 Nikon, and then a 70-200 for some of the stuff. So I don't use my 70-200 huge amounts. So that's kind of like what I carry. And then I've got obviously like the Ronin, the big glide cam, a DJI for. Yeah, that's everything.
Cool. And then this is an interesting, kind of a switch up question. Person says, can you tell us about your life philosophy and vision for your work? That's a good question.
Yeah, it is. Philosophy. I don't know. Like, I don't know quite what you mean. Like,
I guess just how you approach your work from a more of a life perspective, like wanting to always shoot travel. I guess why is that important to you versus the other 80 things that you could be shooting or doing?
Yeah. Travel is kind of like important to me. I don't know. I just always love being outdoors. Like I've shot in studios, I've assisted in studios, and I've never really enjoyed it because it's all very controlled. Like you've got the lights, everything's going to go well, mostly well, because everything's very controlled and you're indoors all the time. And I just don't find that huge amount of fun. So I love getting out in the outdoors and stuff, and it's and just balance it. Sorry, one sec. I need to put my charger in. This is killing my computer. I was on 50% when I started. I'll be 2 seconds. I can probably multitask. So yeah, I think I mostly enjoy travel because it gets me into the outdoors. It keeps me fit, keeps me hiking. 1 second. Yes, power. Right, sorry about that. Yeah, I think just travel photography is always kind of like gone to me because who doesn't want to travel? And it's such a competitive thing to do, but I just love kind of visiting different places and being able to get away from home. I love my home, but it's always, you could wake up in a different country and be working. And I don't know, it's a weird kind of lifestyle. But at the same time, I've always got to be home. Like there's so much you could do and work and travel. So I try balance it as well. Like I do try spend a bit of time at home and see my girlfriend, see my parents, those kind of things. I think that's important to balance because at one time I had no work, I was struggling, and then like luckily things started to kick off, and it's been great ever since, kind of the past year and a half. And you have so much work and you got so much opportunity that it becomes hard. Like you don't really go home. At one point I wasn't going home and I was like, this is a bit, I want to see my family, I want to see my friends, I want to relax a bit. And so, yeah, you just got to kind of like take the opportunity you wanted to, and then the other opportunities, if you want to do them, go for them, but like, you don't have to take everything.
And we'll kind of, I think is a good point to end and switch into is, so you mentioned now you're obviously shooting work and you're kind of getting paid to do this. So you've made that transition. Yeah. Somebody asked the question, what factors do you consider before collaborating with brands and doing projects?
Collaborating with brands, it depends what they want. Like if it's social projects, I'll really consider, does it fit my feed? Does my follow like it? I'm not going to start posting, fashion brand. Like it's not my thing. Even though fashion brands pay really well, I'm not going to do it because like people are just like, what are you doing? You're advertising shoes on your travel page. So yeah, I guess I approach it with, what do you want first? Is it like social posts or is it content? Because I'm up for like usually a challenge. Like I don't want to just limit myself to taking photos of landscapes. And at one point, you know, I mostly had landscapes. I was like, this is a bit boring. So I've been lucky enough to do work for Mercedes, like Lufthansa, like more lifestyle stuff. So that's how kind of, you know, like some shoots I've been like bit like not as scared, but very nervous about doing it because it's completely outside. There's a lot difference from shooting, let's say, me in a landscape in the middle of nowhere, because that's really easy. I can do that anytime. It's relaxed. Than shooting for someone in a lifestyle environment. So yeah, I guess I'm always up for a challenge and stuff. So you got to kind of know your limitations at the same time of what you can do.
Speaking of which, what have been some of the projects that you've recently worked on for various brands?
What have I been? I recently it was sort of a holiday. I worked a bit. I went to the Maldives last week with a hotel company, and I took my girlfriend, which was nice. And then I did a kind of product shoot there. So she was modeling it. And then before that, I was doing a shoot in London for Lufthansa. Lufthansa have always been really good to me. I love Lufthansa. I love their team. So I really like working with them. That's another thing I actually look for, is working with a client. Do I actually like working with them? There's no one I've really come across yet I don't hugely not like working with, but some people can be very sneaky. They can change their minds. They can mess you around. And if you're taking on a job, you don't really want that unless, yeah. Anyhow, I did a Lufthansa shoot in London for their City of the Month. I don't know if people follow Lufthansa's social, but they do a different City of the Month each month, obviously, to advertise a different location. So it goes from, like, I think they're doing India now, but then it was London, and then it was Boston or something. So I shot all the London stuff, which was really cool. That was really fun. That was a lot more lifestyle, which was really good. That was a really good challenge for me because it's a lot different. You'll see some of it on my commercial. It's about a story about this guy visiting London and with a taxi driver showing him around. So I was shooting all the lifestyle stuff for that, and that was completely different. Before that, I was in New Zealand for a month with Adorama. Adorama's, if you guys know, it's a New York-based camera company. They retail all over, and I'm not sure how big they are, but I'm pretty sure they're one of the biggest in the US, I think. So they have a YouTube channel, and I did a travel series for them. So the series is about photography. It's about outdoor photography, and it's mostly about kind of exploring New Zealand. So I proposed this project to them, and I did series 1 a year ago, and then they wanted to do series 2 in New Zealand. So I did that for a month. So I flew me and my friend out to Auckland, and we rented a Defender for a month and just filmed for an entire month. That was probably one of the hardest things. Every day, we'd be shooting sunset if we could, and we'd be shooting sunrise every day if we could, and we'd be driving like thousands of kilometers around New Zealand, which doesn't really have any decent roads. It doesn't have any motorways that much. So it was a lot of fun, but it was hard work. Before that, I was in Budapest, Hungary, and then we drove to Stuttgart with Mercedes. So we had 4 different cars, and we were shooting all their kind of social stuff, and I was running all their social channels. So I was running their Snapchat, their Instagram stories, kind of storytelling through everything. So I had the one guy who's a videographer. I had his drone footage in the Instagram story. So it's really kind of like, it was actually quite a lot of hard work, because we shot every day from sunrise 5 in the morning to 10 or 11 at night when you're editing and trying to put these Instagram stories together, because you got to at least put, I think it was like 15 stories together, and you got to get everyone's angles. There's 4 people on the trip driving the cars, and you got to get everyone's angles and build this kind of creative storytelling of your road trip. So I know Instagram stories is usually people just taking selfies and stuff, but that was actually pretty hard work. So yeah, I don't know how far back you want me to
go. I guess, yeah, we'll leave off here with, you mentioned video, and that's kind of becoming the new thing. You even mentioned Instagram stories. I guess kind of talk about your transition into shooting video and how that's evolved and where you see that going.
I'm hoping to do a lot more video. I've learned from a lot of people. I never studied video. I've just kind of studied it myself. I put a lot of work into, and luckily I've met friends along the way who are like red filmmakers, and they're willing to help me out and do different projects with me and stuff, which is great. Learning from them and the different techniques they use. So I started video about a year and a half ago. I've always kind of like played with it and then kind of started doing it. And I've kind of just practice. This is like just going on a trip. And if I'm shooting photography, I'll shoot a bit of video and I'll color grade it and I'll play around with the edits and do those kind of things and see what I did wrong on that trip, what I did good, and how I enjoyed the video. And then those videos aren't going to go anywhere. There's tons of video content that I've just got in my hard drive, which is never going to go out, but I just practice. And now I filmed the whole of the Adorama series, and we obviously filmed series 1 in America last year. So we filmed all that, and it was mostly my other friend who did most of the filming. I learned quite a lot from him. And then I took board of doing all the filming this time. So I guess I just kept on learning from it. Yeah, I guess it's just a learning curve. It's like photography. You just got to learn from it. And I watch a hell of a lot of tutorials and those kind of things.
Cool. Yeah. So it's really just getting out there and doing it. And are you also seeing just brands being more receptive to wanting to pay you to do it and kind of it being a part of the process now and kind of the new thing?
Yeah, I think people are a lot interested in it, the video, because you could build a package, because like also photographer can and also create you a video as well. It's quite video. I think it's a lot more visual, a lot more storytelling as well, and people find it a bit more interactive sometimes, and brands like that. So I see brands not turning towards it. I guess they've always been interested in videos and stuff, so it's nothing new. But I guess with me, I've been seeing a lot more people being like, "Oh, could you do a video for us? Could you do this? Could you shoot this?" And yeah, it's nice.
And what's kind of the mix between you shooting an ad spot for them? I'm assuming since you have a big following, one that aids in your pitches, but then also is that being like tied into the project? Like, do you have to post a certain amount, or just, I guess, talk about how that kind of plays into it all? Because that seems very interesting.
It depends what kind of project it is. Some projects I work on are just content, which is great, like marketing stuff. So I just shoot it all. No one ever, it goes up on their channels, their website, which is fantastic. And then some projects are just kind of sponsored posts. You see them on Instagram. They're kind of like people were like, can we pay you to do this on our post? And obviously I got to go, does it fit my feed? Obviously, do I like it? Do I like if it's a product, mostly a destination. So I'm quite chilled with destinations. That's quite cool. Quite a lot like showing people destinations, and I think people enjoy it on my feed. So if it's a destination, so sometimes it's just people are just like, could we have this many Instagram posts for this? Or could we have, they just ask for general photography. Can you come out and be our photographer for the day or two? Or can you go shoot this? Which I much prefer. Like Instagram posts, I just like, keeping it a bit clean with what goes up on my feed. So yeah, I make a balance.
So you try to keep your feed just your personal work mostly? Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, I try to, but it becomes like people like their brands up on there and stuff, and I try share as much as travel stuff as I can without branding. But sometimes like there's huge people who support me and make those travels possible, and obviously that's why I'm able to do my job. So that obviously those are cool brands, and I love sharing people with them. So I don't see a huge problem with doing that. So yeah, it's a bit of a mix and whatever comes my way. Like I've turned down travel opportunities, projects. And I much prefer just shooting commercial stuff sometimes. Like the travel stuff's really fun, but it's a lot of pressure to make sure you get a certain amount of shots to post on your social media that you enjoy. I know it sounds kind of stupid, but I don't like sharing half-assed work. Like sometimes you go to a place and the weather's awful, and like that's fine. It's not great, but it's you can do it for a client. But like when you're shooting your own kind of, that's you putting out something, and I don't sometimes like it when I have to put out something I don't like. I hate it.
I totally agree.
Try avoid it.
Cool. So I think we'll probably end on this last question, which is, what's been the biggest learning experience of your career so far?
Biggest learning career? I think everything. I know that sounds kind of deep. I think everything, like since leaving university, like I'm not digging on people who go to university, but I just didn't enjoy it. And Like, I didn't think I learned that much, and I think you can learn a lot more in the real world of going out there. And if anyone's wondering what they should do, if they should go to university or they should go like another path in photography, I would definitely recommend finding a photographer in intern if that's possible, because I went to university and I was spending literally no contact time, and we were doing like one shoot like a month, and it was ridiculous. And then I got out into the real world and started shooting a lot more and started being a lot more proactive. So I guess each project I've done is kind of been a learning curve. I've always learned something new in each project. If it's about the business side of photography, that's probably one of the most important things about photography to learn. Is the business side, because like, yeah, you can take a pretty photo, but do you know how to sell yourself and put yourself out there and make sure you get enough work? That's definitely the hardest part. But I think everything, like, I've been lucky enough to be on so many trips, like from Australia to like a load of trips to America to a load of European stuff, and everything's a learning curve. I think everything I've done is different and learning, and the planning which goes into a trip and the non-planning. Like, I went on a trip a year ago, and I don't think I put a huge amount of planning into it, and it didn't go well. And then every trip since, I've been looking under every street corner to make sure there's a shot. So I think it's like, well, a lot of what I do is planning. We don't just turn up in these locations to make sure, hope something happens. Like, you're doing hours of research on Google and Street View and whatever sources you can find from that place they're going to send you to where you should go. Like, is there a cool hike you could do? Is there a cool village you could see? Like, what's off that motorway over there? And like, is that location better than that location? You can't decide in a field with no signal without your phone. You've got to kind of make these decisions before you go. So that's really important, I think.
Cool. Yeah, man. Alex, this has been absolutely fantastic. So everybody watching, you'll be able to watch the replay after it's done. I would say go follow him on Instagram, but you probably already are. So there's no point in saying that. But if you must, there's a link here on the right with his information where you can find it. But obviously, he's on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and so just look him up. Check out his website as well, alexstead.co.uk, right? It's the UK. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Yeah, Alex, thank you so much. Hopefully, we'll have you back on here. I know you're busy, but we'd love to get you back on here and sometime in the future and check in to see all the cool stuff you've been working on.
Sweet. Thanks a lot.
All right, take it easy.